The Vision Ultra rodent breeding rack was optimized to be the most efficient, durable, safe, and affordable system on the market, able to breed rodents of varying sizes from birth to maturity. Using a combination of stainless steel food trays, anodized aluminum uprights, tub support tubes, and advanced engineered end plates, Vision Ultra can be modified over time to use any combination of V35, V35S, and V18 tubs. For this video, we will go over how to properly assemble your Vision Ultra rack, step by step. While not every rack combination will be shown in this video, a universal hole pattern of the aluminum uprights provide a repeatable assembly process as a rack is scaled in height and length. It is very important that you watch the video from start to finish, then refer back to the specific step in the video while completing that step. Deviating from the carefully thought-after process may result in confusion or having to start over. We highly recommend following the steps in the exact order shown to avoid any hiccups or having to restart. Do not use alternate assembly methods. 2 people are recommended for assembly. While assembly with 1 is possible, 2 people will ensure a safer and much easier assembly, especially when building larger racks. Part inventory and necessary tools. When receiving your Vision Ultra rodent rack, a detailed packing list is provided in the box. As your first step, use the packing list to take inventory of each part to make sure nothing is missing or damaged before you start assembly. Refer to the packing list for part quantities, as they may differ from what's shown in this video and depend on the size of your rack. Certain parts come with extras if needed and will be marked on your packing list. List of parts should include stainless steel food trays, aluminum C-channel uprights, tub support tubes, end plates, short carriage bolts, long carriage bolts, lag bolts, knurled flange nuts, living hinge wedges, dual carriage bolt washer plates, lag bolt washers, food tray space calibration V-boards, and half-inch socket bolt assembly tool for a drill. Optional parts may include tubs, front and back stops, food tray dividers, divider tray screws, divider screw wing nuts, L bracket with either a set of casters or feet, food hoppers, additional food trays to be used as supply trays in the rack, water container pedestal or cantilever holders, and water bottle holders. Gravity-fed watering system components may include water valves, water valve clips, a 5-gallon water container with quick connect bulkhead and tube fitting, tubing, a shutoff valve, barbed L connectors, barbed T connectors, and a barbed inline screen filter. If you have problems with assembly or are missing parts, you may call or email our sales support teams for assistance. Tools needed for assembly are a drill using the provided half-inch socket with the tubs you plan to use in your rack. Drill not provided. A customer-provided socket wrench kit with the same half-inch socket may be used at builder's discretion, but a drill in combination with the provided half-inch socket drill tool will greatly speed up the process. A customer-provided Phillips head screwdriver may be needed if attaching a supply tray, caster brackets, or water container cantilever holder to your rack. One will not be provided. A customer-provided pliers or wrench may also be needed to assemble the water container cantilever holder. Gloves are also recommended for assembly. Step 1. Assemble tub support levels. Tub support levels are the backbone of the Vision Ultra rodent rack system and provide rigidity to your rack. Every tub support level planned to be used in your rack must be assembled before moving on to the next step. First, slide the aluminum tub support tubes into the end plates. Tilting the end plate at an angle will help the tub support tubes slide in. Ensure the end plates are touching the ends of the tub support tubes and that the side holes line up with the corresponding holes on the end plates. Place the long carriage bolts into the sides of the end plates through the tub support tubes. Long carriage bolts should be placed through the inner holes of the end plates first, with the bolt ends sticking outwards and the round flange heads sticking inwards. This allows you to use your 1/2-inch socket tool to tighten the knurled flange nuts later. The carriage bolts contain a square shaft end towards the head of the bolt that will engage the square hole on the side of the end plate. This ensures the bolt holds in place while assembling and doesn't turn while you tighten the knurled flange nut. Place a dual carriage bolt washer plate on each pair of long carriage bolts before finger tightening a knurled flange nut onto each bolt. Repeat for the other side of the tub support end plate. Place a lag bolt washer onto the lag bolt. Finger tighten the lag bolts on the bottom of the end plate using the provided hole in the tub support tube until the lag bolt begins biting into the end plate. Finish by tightening the lag bolt, followed by the knurled flange nuts on the long carriage bolts with a drill. The highest setting on a drill may be used for most common household cordless drills, with a lower setting recommended for more powerful drills. Repeat until every tub support is built. Step 2. Attach the first tub support level to your rack. For all of the following steps, it is critical that all knurled flange nuts and carriage bolts are finger tightened only. Do not fully tighten any bolt with a socket tool until the rack is completely assembled. This is to ensure all holes line up as you assemble the rack. Depending on your rack system, the bottom of your rack may use a tub support level, a food tray used as a supply tray, or nothing at all, and may need additional mapping before beginning the next step. For racks where you only order one SKU of tubs and you ordered the maximum amount of possible levels, assembly of the rack should not require any guide for starting your rack beforehand. Align the bottom hole of the end plate with the bottommost hole in the upright. For custom hybrid racks where you ordered multiple tub SKUs, fewer than the maximum amount of levels, using a supply tray in your rack or upgraded taller uprights, refer to the chart labeled Hole Position for First Tub Support End Plate to the right on your packing list to place your first upright. If you're missing your packing sheet or don't have the information, follow the link on screen to use our bottom hole location tool. This will show you which hole in the upright to align with the bottom hole of the end plate, based on your configuration. Make note of its outcome before continuing. For racks using a tub support level at the bottom and the maximum number of levels, place the first level with the bottom hole of the end plate aligning with the bottommost hole of the upright. Have one person hold up your first aluminum C-channel upright while the other slides the provided short carriage bolts into the end plates. Make sure when assembling, you have the C-channel uprights in the correct orientation. All C-channel uprights will be marked with a bottom sticker for reference. In case the stickers are missing or fell off during shipping, place the C-channel upright with the end containing 3 evenly spaced holes towards the bottom. If uprights are placed incorrectly, the rack will not assemble properly. Place the bolts through the inner hole of the end plate, sticking out through the C-channel upright of the rack. A square hole in the ends of the end plates will align with the square flange on the short carriage bolts to ensure a secure fit. For racks using a supply tray at the bottom, Place your first tub support level to provide some structure to the rack before attaching the bottom supply tray. Refer to the chart labeled hole position for the first tub support end plate on your packing list, or the provided measurement from the linked bottom hole location tool to place your first tub support level. The bottom hole of the end plate will align with the calculated hole in the upright. Once it's hand tightened into place using the knurled flange nuts, you can attach the supply tray at the bottom of the rack. Attach a living hinge wedge to the food tray by aligning the notch on the living hinge with the hole in the food tray and clipping on the hinge as shown. Using a short carriage bolt, slide the bolt through the inside part of the living hinge through the C-channel uprights sticking out. If you ordered fewer levels than can fill the rack or bought upgraded uprights, refer to the chart labeled hole position for the first tub support end plate on your packing list, or the provided measurement from the linked bottom hole location tool to start your first level. Align the bottom hole of the end plate with the calculated hole in the upright and bolt it into place. If placing casters or adjustable feet to the bottom of your rack, move on to step 3. If using neither on your rack, hand tighten knurled flange nuts to each bolt and skip to step 4. Do not hand tighten too much or use a drill at this step. Step 3. Adding casters and feet. Using the provided L brackets, bolt either the caster with the zinc-plated flange lock nut or adjustable foot with the provided 2 nuts on each thread. If using the adjustable foot, ensure each foot is screwed to its lowest point before attaching to the rack. Two of the casters are non-locking casters, while the other 2 are locking casters. Make sure to have locking casters in your preferred location when installing the rack. Depending on which orientation you plan on storing your rack, you will want the locking casters easily accessible to lock and unlock with your foot. If using a tub support level at the bottom of your rack, slide the L bracket into the short carriage bolt sticking out of the end plate through the uprights and hand tighten a knurled flange nut onto each bolt to hold the L bracket in place. Repeat for each L bracket. Do not hand tighten too much or use a drill at this step. If using a supply tray at the bottom of your rack, place the L bracket into the C-channel upright with the bottom hole of the L bracket aligning with the short carriage bolt of the supply tray. Use the black galvanized pan head screw with a Phillips head provided in either the caster or foot kit to secure the top hole of the L bracket in place, making sure the bolt is placed on the inside of the rack sticking out through the C-channel upright. Hand tighten the knurled flange nuts onto each of the bolts. Do not tighten too much or use a drill at this step. If no tub support level or supply tray is used at the bottom of the rack, use the black galvanized pan head screws with a Phillips head to secure the top and bottom hole of the L bracket in place. The pan head screw should only be used in rack assembly when either attaching a supply tray at the bottom or nothing at all. Do not use pan head screws when attaching the tub support levels or food trays. Hand tighten the knurled flange nuts onto each of the bolts. Do not hand tighten too much or use a drill at this step. Step 4. Attach food trays and remaining tub support levels to your rack. Using the first tub support level on your rack, place whichever one of the 3 tub sizes you want on your first level: V35, V35S, or V18 on each side of the tub support level. Attach a living hinge wedge to each corner of one of the food trays by aligning the notch on the living hinge with the hole in the food tray and clipping on the hinge as shown. Be sure the side of the living hinge wedge with the orientation bump out is on the inside of the food tray when assembling. Align with the notch in the square opening in the corner of the food tray, then fold and snap in place. When assembled properly, the living hinge wedge should look like this, creating a perpendicular side of the angled food tray so it attaches the angled food tray firmly to the C-channel upright. A few extra living hinge wedges are included in case one gets lost or damaged. Set the food tray on top of the tubs. If previous steps are done correctly, the holes in the food tray should align with a hole in the C-channel upright. Using a short carriage bolt, slide the bolt through the inside part of the living hinge, through the C-channel upright with the end of the bolt sticking out of the cavity of the C-channel upright. The square flange of the short carriage bolt will align with the square hole of the living hinge to ensure a secure fit and prevent it from turning when tightening the knurled flange nut. Finger tighten a knurled flange nut to each bolt. Do not tighten too much or use a drill at this step. Take one of your remaining tub support levels and set it on the attached food tray. Slide the tub support level up slowly until the two holes in the end plates align with the next set of holes in the uprights. The tub support level should only have to shift slightly up the C-channel upright if previous steps were done correctly. Starting with the top hole, place short carriage bolts through the inner hole of the end plate. The square hole in the ends of the end plates will align with the square flange on the short carriage bolts to ensure a secure fit. Finger tighten a knurled flange nut to each bolt. Do not tighten too much or use a drill at this step. Remove the tubs from between the food tray and first tub support level, placing them in each corner of the next tub support. If using a different size tub than the previous level, place the desired tub for that row in each corner of the next tub support. Repeat each step of step 4 until remaining levels are used. Step 5. Tightening bolts with a drill. Once every tub support level and food tray has been placed and finger tightened on the rack, use a drill to tighten the support levels and straighten the rack. Fill your rack with all the necessary tubs before proceeding to the next step. If you want space between your tubs and the food tray, provided food tray calibration V-boards may be required. To add space between your tubs and the food tray, simply slide the food tray calibration V-board above each of the two tubs on each end of the tub support level. Make sure the food tray is sitting on top of the calibration V-board and tighten the bolt with a drill. Apply slight pressure to the food tray while tightening each carriage bolt. If you want the food tray to have a snug fit against your tubs, make sure the food tray is sitting directly on the tubs on each end of the tub support level before tightening with a drill. Apply a varying degree of pressure to the food tray while tightening, depending on how tight you want the food tray to be against the tubs. If you discarded or are missing the provided food tray calibration V-boards for any other reason, you may use a 1/8 inch thick piece of cardboard on each side to calibrate your food trays. If a different amount of space is desired, you may come up with your own thickness of space calibration, as well as to ensure consistent spacing from level to level for whatever space you desire. If using front and back stops on your rack, designate the front and back of your rack before proceeding. Place the black backstop on the back of your rack. Clip the black backstop onto the back of the food tray ensuring the back of the clip is catching on the inner lip of the food tray, as this ensures a secure tub. A slight bump with your fist will help snap in place. Align the black clip to the center of the tub by sliding it along the food tray. Repeat for each tub on each level. If you ever want to remove a backstop, lift on the inside of the backstop with your fingers or a screwdriver and wiggle off at an angle. They also may be adjusted as your tub configurations change by simply sliding back and forth. Clip the front stop on the front of the food tray, ensuring the back of the clip is catching on the inner lip of the food tray. Align the front stop to center the handle of the tub in front of it. Again, a slight bump with your fist will help it snap into place. Repeat for each tub on each level. The front clips are designed to snap up in just the right position to remove your tubs from the shelf, yet stay attached to the food tray. They also slide left and right to remove your tubs. Snapping up and down makes it easy to see if all your tubs are secure at a glance and help prevent escape. Next, we will show you how to assemble optional food tray dividers and water jug holders. If using neither for your system, move on to Step 7, where we discuss best practices for food hoppers and water nozzles. Step 6. Assembling food tray dividers and water container holders. Optional food tray dividers may be used throughout the rack system. Food tray dividers are an economical and efficient way to contain your food in a desired location of your food tray, and at the same time, add strength and rigidity to your food tray. 6 slots on each side of the food tray allows for the L-shaped food dividers to be placed in 3 different spots on the food tray, either forwards or backwards, as shown. To place a divider, slide one end into your preferred slot in the food tray. Make sure the other side of the food tray divider lines up with the same slot on the other side, and the holes of the divider align with the holes on the ends of the food tray. Enough divider tray bolts and divider tray wing nuts will be provided to bolt each hole of the food tray divider into the food tray, although this is not always necessary. In most cases, bolting each end of the divider along with 1, 2, or 3 holes in the center is usually enough for the average user, depending on the length of the divider used. To bolt the food tray divider into place, slide the silver flathead food tray divider screw through the bottom of the food tray into the divider hole. Using the divider screw wing nut at the top of the food tray to secure the divider in place. Repeat for as many holes in the divider as desired. Depending on the type of water container holder purchased, extra assembly steps may be required. For the cantilever holders, attach the brackets to the top of the rack. Depending on the configuration of the rack, holes in the bracket will either align with the short carriage bolts of the food tray or tub support levels at the top, or a black galvanized pan head screw with a Phillips head may be needed if no food tray or tub support aligns with one of the holes. If using a black galvanized pan head screw with a Phillips head, place the bolt through the inner part of the rack through the C-channel upright into the bracket of the cantilever holder. Hand tighten the short carriage bolts with a knurled flange nut. Do not over-tighten or use a drill at this step. Depending on whether you purchase an inward or outward cantilever holder, the position of the brackets on the C-channel uprights will differ. The inward cantilever holder brackets should hang over the rack when bolting into the upright, while the outward cantilever holder will hang outside of the rack. The wings of the cantilever bracket will only sit a certain direction in the C-channel upright, depending on which you purchase. So make sure you receive the correct one. Make sure the brackets of the cantilever are bolted in the same place on each side to ensure a level holder. Once the cantilever brackets are hand-bolted into the C-channel uprights, bolt the water container tube supports into the brackets. Using 1/4-inch 20 stainless screws provided with the cantilever holder and silver zinc-plated knurled nut, aligning the holes of the water container tube supports with the brackets. Finger tighten the nuts. Do not over-tighten or use a drill at this step. Once all nuts on the cantilever are in place, you may tighten everything together using a customer-supplied pliers or wrench. Do not over-tighten as it may crush the aluminum tube. Moderate tightness is adequate for the functionality of these components. If using a water container pedestal holder, it should be placed on the topmost food tray on your rack in any position you want. The pedestal holder can be bolted onto the food tray using divider tray screws and divider screw wing nuts, but it is not necessary. Divider tray screws are placed through the bottom of the food tray through the pedestal holder and screwed into place with the divider screw wing nut. Step 7. Best practices for water nozzles and food hoppers. The Vision Ultra watering system is very DIY friendly and can be configured to your liking. Here are some best practices for installing our watering systems. It's best to work row by row from bottom of the rack to the top. First, count the number of tubs on one row and grab that number of water valves and drinking valve clips. When attaching a water nozzle to our drinking valve clip, we recommend cutting your tubing to 1 1/4 inches. Make sure to bend out your drinking valve clips to provide a tighter fit when placing in the food tray. Hold the drinking valve barb up and place a drinking valve clip on top of it. Take your 1 1/4 inch tubing and attach it to the barb of the drinking valve, making sure to put it on tightly. Repeat for each of your drinking valves on that level. Attach a barbed T connector to all but one of the valves. Attaching the barbed L connector to the last one. For tubing between drinking valves, we recommend 7 inches between V18 tubs or 14 3/4 between V35 and V35S tubs. Attach drinking valves to newly cut tubing. Place your drinking valves into your preferred location on the food tray. Take your remaining tubing, measuring a piece from the first drinking valve to the end plate. Cut that piece off and attach it to the row of valves. Attach a barbed L connector to the end of the tubing so it can be connected to the rest of the rack. Create another row of valves following the previous steps and place it in the next row of the rack. Attach a T connector to the newly assembled water valve row as shown. Take your remaining tubing and measure from the bottom row to the next row. Cutting a piece of tubing and attaching the two rows together. Repeat until you reach the top of the rack. To connect the water valve system to one or more water containers, make sure they're in place before continuing. Cut a small piece of remaining tubing and attach it to the tube fitting of the Quick Connect bulkhead. Repeat if attaching 2 or more water containers to the system. If running more than one container through your rack, use barbed T-connectors to attach the water containers together. Attaching another small piece of your remaining tubing to the T-connector as shown. Attach an inline shutoff valve to the loose tubing and another short piece of your remaining tubing into the other end. Attach a barbed inline screen filter to the loose tubing. Note, it may take a little more force to attach. Run remaining tubing from the inline screen filter to the top row of your rack. Disconnect the water containers from the rack using the Quick Connect bulkhead. Fill with water and reattach to the system. Make sure the shutoff valve is in the open position. Press on the stem of one of the water valves to ensure water is flowing to the system. This is the standard configuration for the drip water system, but other configurations are possible. You may want to isolate some levels to one container and some levels to another. It is ultimately up to you to configure your needs. Additional parts may need to be purchased if setting up your water system other than what was shown. Depending on the number of food hoppers ordered, you can either set a food hopper above each tub or place a food hopper between two tubs to accommodate both. Food hoppers will slide under water nozzle tubing if both are used on the same side.